The single dad only stopped because she looked lost, standing barefoot at the edge of the road, drenched in rain, clutching nothing but a crumpled tourist map. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled. "I've been looking for someone like you." He had no idea those words would lead to a deal that would flip his entire life upside down, forever. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Total target, 8,000 words. The storm came hard and fast. Lightning forked across the sky like it was slicing the clouds apart. Matthew Burns, 34, pulled his rusty old pickup to the shoulder of the quiet mountain road. His windshield wipers were barely keeping up, and the wind howled like a warning. He squinted through the water-glazed glass. A figure, slender, drenched, and still, stood alone just ahead. A woman, late 20s maybe, blonde hair plastered to her face. A duffel bag sagged from her shoulder, water leaking from its seams. Matthew's first instinct was to drive on. He had his 7-year-old daughter, Mia, dozing in the back seat, her crayon drawings scattered over her lap. He was a cautious man. Being a single parent made you that way. But something about the stranger's expression, the way she looked up at the truck like she'd been waiting for it. He rolled down the window. "Ma'am? You all right?" She blinked, slow and calm. "You're Matthew, right?" He stiffened. "Do I know you?" She gave a tired half-smile. "Not yet, but I know who you are. Can I come in? It's cold out here." That should have been the moment he drove off. But he didn't. Something in her voice, something raw and calm and terrifyingly certain, made him unlock the door instead. The woman climbed in, shivering, and closed the door behind her. Rain clattered against the roof like gunfire. "Name's Natalie," she said, reaching into her soaked jacket and pulling out a laminated ID badge. She held it up just long enough for Matthew to read the words. National Cyber Defense Agency. Strategic Operations Division. Clearance. Alpha Black. Matthew blinked. "What is this? A joke?" "No joke," Natalie said softly. "But we need to get off this road. Someone's tracking me, and you just became part of it." The rain hammered the roof of the truck as Matthew pressed the gas pedal, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting a black SUV to emerge from the storm behind them. "What do you mean someone's tracking you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady for Mia's sake. Natalie, still dripping wet in the passenger seat, stared straight ahead. Her fingers twitched like they were used to holding a gun. "I can explain everything. But first, I need to know, do you still live on Deer Creek Road? That small cabin behind the lumberyard." Matthew's chest tightened. "How do you know where I live?" "Because you saved someone's life 2 years ago without even knowing it," she said quietly. "That someone was me." Matthew nearly hit the brakes right there, but Mia stirred in the back seat, so he kept driving. "That's not possible. I don't remember you. You wouldn't. I didn't give you my real name. You helped me when I was bleeding outside the diner on Route 9. Gave me your jacket, walked away before the cops arrived. Said you didn't want to get involved. I vanished, but I never forgot you." He remembered the night now. He thought she was just a mugging victim. No ID, barely conscious. He had a job interview the next morning and a daughter sleeping in his truck. He didn't stick around. Natalie turned her head. "I work for the government. Or I used to. Let's just say the agency I work for didn't like me walking away with what I found." Matthew exhaled, gripping the wheel tighter. "What did you find?" "A list," she said, her voice low, "of every politician, CEO, and private contractor who's been laundering government war money through ghost charities. Billions in blood money, including your old employer, Cypress Arms. That company that laid you off and left you broke when Mia was a baby." Matthew swallowed hard. Cypress Arms manufactured drone systems. He'd worked security there for 3 years before the plant downsized overnight. He never got a severance. "You're telling me they're part of this?" Natalie nodded. "And they're afraid of what I know. They sent someone after me last night in Riverton. That's why I was out there. I wasn't lost. I was trying to find you. Because I need someone I can trust." Matthew glanced at her. "You've got the wrong guy." "No," she said, voice firm. "I've got exactly the right guy." They reached Matthew's cabin just before sunrise. It sat in the woods, quiet and surrounded by thick pine trees, with a wide porch and a small creek running through the back. Matthew carried Mia inside, tucked her into bed, and returned to the living room to find Natalie drying her hair by the fireplace. She'd changed into one of Matthew's old flannel shirts, tied at the waist. Her expression was calmer now, but her eyes still scanned the room like she was trained to spot threats in the shadows. "I don't get it," he said finally. "Why come to me?" Natalie looked up. "Because I don't just need help hiding. I need your help exposing this. Your father. You know what it means to protect something that matters. These people, they're destroying lives while pretending to save them. But I can't do this alone anymore." Matthew's jaw tightened. His fridge was half empty. His bills were unpaid. He fixed fences for minimum wage and picked up scrapwood just to get by. And now this woman, this ghost from a moment he barely remembered, was asking him to go to war. But something in him stirred. It wasn't just a chance to hit back at the people who crushed him. It was the way Natalie looked at him. Not like a broken man, not like a burden, but like someone capable. And in that quiet, firelit cabin, with a storm still raging in the distance, Matthew made the first decision that would change everything. He nodded. "Tell me what you need me to do." The attic became mission control. While Mia slept peacefully in her room, Natalie spread out her soaked duffel bag across the floor, pulling out a flash drive sealed in a vacuum pouch, 2 burner phones, and a folded blueprint of some kind of server farm. Matthew stood against the far wall, arms crossed. "You always carry your life in a duffel bag." Natalie smirked. "Only the important parts. What's on this drive? They'll do anything to stop it from leaking. That's why we're going to leak it." He looked skeptical. "How? I can barely get cell service in this place, let alone hack into whatever this is." She walked over and handed him one of the burner phones. "That's where you come in. I've got a signal blocker running a loop right now, masking our location. But we need to deliver this data to someone public. Someone noisy." Matthew looked down at the phone, confused. "Like a journalist?" "No. Louder." She gave him a sharp look. "I need a viral moment. Something no algorithm can suppress. A message from someone no one would suspect. Someone normal. A single father, maybe. Someone who just wants answers." Matthew blinked. "You want me to go on camera?" Natalie nodded. "With your story. With what Cypress did to you. You tell your truth. Then we link their name to the evidence. That's the hook. That's how I get traction." He shook his head, pacing. "You're talking about painting a target on my back." Natalie stood firm. "You already have one. The moment I got in that truck." Matthew stared at her. The woman who used to be a ghost now felt like the only real thing in his life. And deep down, he didn't want to be invisible anymore. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "If I do this, if I put myself and Mia in the middle of this, I'll protect her," Natalie said without hesitation. "Even if it costs me everything." Matthew believed her. He turned to the window and saw the forest beyond his backyard, peaceful, quiet, unknowing. He remembered every humiliating moment. When the Cypress layoffs were announced, when he begged the manager for 2 more weeks, when he pawned his wedding ring just to buy diapers. If this was his moment to rise, maybe this time he wouldn't fall alone. He turned back to Natalie. "All right, let's go viral." The video was raw, unpolished. Matthew filmed it in the dim attic, sitting in a worn-out chair, speaking directly into Natalie's cracked phone. "My name is Matthew Burns. I'm a single father. I used to work for Cypress Arms, a company that claimed to protect our country. They laid me off with no warning. But that's not the story." He looked straight into the lens. "The real story is what they've done with your tax money, and the lives they've ruined to hide it." Natalie edited the footage on a portable rig while he spoke. She kept the tone authentic, filled with pauses, emotion, and unscripted glances, because real was louder than perfect. She posted the video anonymously, tagging independent outlets, whistleblower pages, and viral justice platforms. Then they waited. By morning, it had 200 views. By noon, it hit 11,000. By sunset, it was everywhere. Who is Matthew Burns? Ex-employee exposes government contractor scandal. Single dad goes viral, calls out defense company. The comments flooded in. "This guy's brave. I'm with him. Cypress destroyed my cousin's family too." Finally, someone saying what we've all known. But not all of them were kind. CIA plant. Look at how scripted this is. This guy's a dead man walking. Hope his kid's safe. That night, a dark sedan appeared across the road from the cabin. No headlights. Just waiting. Matthew spotted it through the blinds. Natalie had her gun in hand before he even spoke. "They found us," she whispered. "Time to disappear." Matthew's stomach dropped. "And Mia? We take her." No, she's 7. She's got school, she." Natalie turned to him, deadly calm. "Matthew, they will use her to get to you. Do you understand that?" His voice broke. "She's all I've got." Natalie's eyes softened. "Then fight for her. Leave this place behind. Just for now." Matthew packed one bag. Natalie wiped their digital footprint. Mia woke to find her 2 favorite stuffed animals already packed, as if her dad somehow knew this would happen. They left just before dawn, disappearing into the fog, leaving the cabin, the pickup, and everything familiar behind. They took back roads and kept moving. Natalie ditched the first burner phone and swapped SIMs 3 times within 48 hours. They slept in motels where no one asked questions, bought meals in cash, and used a decoy credit card under a fake name. One of many sheets stashed across states for emergencies. Mia, brave but confused, clung to her stuffed rabbit and watched cartoons in hotel lobbies while Matthew and Natalie spoke in low, urgent tones nearby. At one point, in a rundown diner in Missouri, Natalie leaned in close across the table and whispered, "The file's spreading. Journalists are contacting me through the dead drop I set up. They want to talk." Matthew didn't flinch. "Let them, but that means more eyes. And more pressure," she warned. "They'll either try to discredit you or destroy you." Matthew looked out the rain-specked window. "I'm not afraid of being destroyed anymore. I just don't want to disappear without doing something that matters." Natalie studied him. "You know, most people would have said no. Most would have slammed that truck door in my face." Matthew shrugged. "Most people don't know what it feels like to raise a daughter alone with nothing but gas money and hope." The next hit came in Kentucky. They were checking into a roadside inn when Natalie's backup phone rang, something that wasn't supposed to happen. She answered without speaking. A man's voice slid through the line, smooth and cold. "You're bleeding out time, Agent Walker. We gave you 3 days. You've had 5. Natalie stiffened. "You've dragged a civilian and his child into this. That's not just reckless, it's actionable." She swallowed. "What do you want? To finish what you started? Hand over the drive. Or watch what happens when men like us stop playing fair." The line went dead. Matthew watched her face pale, but she didn't tell him what was said. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat by the door with a pistol in her lap, eyes on the hallway. By the end of the week, the story had exploded. Cable news caught wind. Major networks demanded interviews. A trending hashtag #DadAgainstDefense, took off like wildfire. People began recognizing Matthew in gas stations. A woman bought their breakfast at a rest stop in Kansas. A Vietnam veteran shook Matthew's hand, tears in his eyes. "You reminded me of who I used to be," he said. But fame came with danger. A drone hovered outside one of their motels. Natalie fried it with a signal jammer, but they both knew they were running out of time. They needed somewhere no one would expect. "Your brother," Natalie said one morning. "You mentioned him once. Small town in Colorado. Do you trust him?" Matthew hesitated. "We haven't talked in 6 years. Not since the funeral. Will he protect you?" "Yeah, I think he would." The cabin near Silver Pine Ridge was buried in pine trees, far from Wi-Fi and cell towers. Matthew's older brother, Luke, a quiet man with a shotgun and a weathered face, didn't ask many questions. He watched Mia run through the grass, her laugh echoing through the trees, and simply nodded. "You can stay here," he said. "But if trouble follows, I won't run." Natalie offered her hand. "That makes 2 of us." The next morning, Natalie met with a rogue journalist from Chicago. They used a dead drop point inside an abandoned chapel to transfer a second hard drive, one with the rest of the names. She never saw his face. But that night, the past caught up. They came in silence. No lights, no warning. 3 men with suppressed weapons approached the cabin at 3:12 a.m. Luke saw them first, fired a warning shot into the air. Natalie was already on the move, dragging Mia into the panic hatch Luke had built into the floor decades ago, for tornadoes. "Don't make a sound," she whispered to the child, locking the door. Gunfire erupted. Wood splintered. Matthew grabbed a crowbar, his heart slamming in his chest. He'd never held a weapon like Natalie. But he didn't need to be a soldier. He was a father. He flanked one attacker and took him down with a brutal swing to the ribs. Natalie handled the second with chilling precision. One shot to the knee, one to the shoulder. She didn't kill him. She wanted answers. The third man vanished into the trees. When it was over, the cabin was full of smoke and broken glass. But Mia was safe. And so was the truth. Matthew stood over the man on the ground, breathing hard. "Who sent you?" he asked. The man bled from the shoulder, but smiled through his teeth. "You think this ends with you?" he hissed. "You just started a war." Natalie turned to Matthew in the aftermath. "We can disappear," she said quietly. "Go dark forever. Or we can go louder." Matthew looked around. At the shattered cabin. At Luke's bruised hands. At Mia curled up on the couch with a flashlight, brave as ever. "No more hiding," he said. "Let's burn the whole damn lie down." The next move had to be bold. Not reactive. Not defensive. If they wanted to end it, they had to go through the front door. Natalie laid out the plan with chilling clarity. "We hit their servers directly. Not just leak the files. We link every name, every transaction, every offshore account in real time. It has to be undeniable." Matthew nodded slowly. Tension knotted in his jaw. "And how do we access their servers?" She opened the duffel and pulled out a stolen access badge. "We go back to Cypress. I used to be on their internal clearance list. You used to work there. That plant in Arlington has the off-grid server. We use your face and my badge. Won't that trigger every alarm?" "That's the point," she said. "We want them to come running, while everyone's watching." They left Mia with Luke and drove straight to Arlington. Natalie hacked the guard logs before they even reached the parking lot. Matthew wore a janitor's vest from his old role, and Natalie posed as a compliance inspector. Inside, the building smelled like bleach and betrayal. Matthew's steps felt heavy with memory. "I used to mop these halls," he muttered, "and now I'm about to flip the place upside down." Natalie smirked. Revenge is most poetic when it's silent at first. They reached sublevel 3. 2 guards blocked the hallway. Natalie didn't flinch. She flashed the forged badge, waved a forged warrant from a fake DHS server, and spoke with enough authority to make the guards step aside. The server room door slid open. Rows of cold metal racks blinked blue and green. "This is it," she said. "Plug this in, and everything will dump to the cloud. Secure. Unstoppable. The world will know." Matthew took the flash drive. His hands trembled, but he wasn't scared. He was done being scared. He knelt, found a master port beneath the cooling fan, and slid the drive into place. The screen lit up. Transfer initiated. Encryption live. Data syncing to global drop points. Matthew stood. "It's done." Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Security lockdown initiated. Natalie grabbed his hand. "Run." They sprinted through the corridors, dodging a tactical team pouring into the stairwell. Natalie took a shot to the leg, kept moving anyway. They reached the service exit just as a helicopter began circling overhead. In the chaos, no one noticed the cloud servers broadcasting the full scandal across the world. Every name, every lie, every document. By the next morning, it was global news. $9.4 billion misused in defense fraud. Leaked files confirm national conspiracy. Anonymous whistleblower identified as former employee, single father of one. Public demands arrests. Cypress armed CEO resigns in disgrace. Matthew Burns became a symbol, not just of truth, but of ordinary courage. He sat for one interview with a nonprofit news network, holding Mia in his arms, and said, "I didn't do this because I'm brave. I did it because I'm a dad. And if I didn't stand up for what was right, what kind of world would I leave behind for her?" A year later, they lived on a quiet farm in Oregon now. Matthew taught woodworking at a local high school. Mia had a dog, a new school, and the safest sleep she'd ever known. Natalie, cleared of all false charges by the Whistleblower Protection Board, ran a nonprofit that helped ex-intelligence agents reintegrate into civilian life. The three of them often sat under the stars on weekends, quiet, grateful, unshaken. One night, Mia looked up from her sketchbook and asked, "Daddy, would you do it all again?" Matthew glanced at Natalie, then back at his daughter. He smiled softly. In a heartbeat,